Hey, Mike, can I get one? Can I get that one protein bar? What's going on, guys? Jake Boley with BarBend.com. We're back for another protein bar review, and this was potentially one of my favorite reviews to shoot thus far for protein bars, and we're looking at the One Bar. So as you can see, we have a ton of flavors here. We're gonna be doing a taste test. We're gonna break down nutrition, ingredients, pros and cons that come along with these bars. All right, so now let's talk taste test. So as you can see, we have a ton of flavors here. If you're a glazed donut fan, I apologize, but we actually don't have that flavor for this video. We have a salted caramel, birthday cake, peanut butter pie, lemon cake, cookies and cream, chocolate brownie, chocolate chip cookie dough, and then we have the cinnamon roll and the almond bliss. One thing that kind of differentiates between each bar is the actual texture, and that's something that a lot of people like with the One Bar. So today we're gonna taste test the cinnamon roll and the almond bliss to give you a full context into what they actually look like and taste like. So now let's start with the cinnamon roll, which has high remarks across the interwebs. So a nice little glazed texture to it, as you can see, breaks apart pretty well. It smells very cinnamon-like, which I'm a fan of. The smell is huge, especially for kind of faking that really sweet taste that this is trying to capture. It's very chewy, but it's not like a taffy-like taste or texture. It's more like a chewy, really chewy, dense cookie dough. I'm a big fan of that. It pretty much lands on the cinnamon roll flavor too, and it's like head on with the actual little bit of sweetness that I kind of want with this kind of flavor, especially for a protein bar. Now let's look at the almond bliss. This bar has a lot of texture to it, a lot of texture on the top, a lot of ridges, and it's a chocolate base on top. Breaking it apart, ooh, there's the inside. Ah, so those are actually almonds on there. I get the almond taste, a little bit of chocolate. There's like a subtle sweetness to it that I can't really put a finger on. So that might actually be a coconut. It's not a very standout taste. So if you're not a fan of coconut flavor, because I'm not really either, it doesn't really hit you too hard. So I think this could be a good bar for you. All in all, chocolatey, a little bit of a sweetness. I'm guessing that's more of a coconut-esque flavor, and then some almonds. I dig the texture in these bars. They both taste pretty good, and they both did pretty good at getting the flavor across. So now let's take a quick look at texture. So I mentioned it in the taste section, but something that I like about One Bars, and I know other people on the interwebs like as well, is the differentiation of texture. So as you can see, the Almond Bliss bar here actually has almonds in it. It's a little bit more rigid. It offers a little bit of a less of a glaze on the top. And the cinnamon roll, it's pretty much standard across. There's like a glaze over the whole top. The glaze layer, it looks to be a little bit thicker than what's in the Almond Bliss. Personally, I'm a fan of that because one, it adds a little bit of a variety to the flavors, especially since these are kind of dessert-oriented flavors. Also, I like that it adds a little bit of bite and chew to the actual cookie dough-esque flavoring and texture that these bars have. All right, nutrition breakdown section, let's go. In terms of all these bars' caloric content, you can expect to find 210 to 230 calories. Looking at the macronutrients, the fat is gonna range between 5 to 7 grams, carbohydrates will range between 22 to 24 grams, and the protein across the board is at 20 grams. So the reason the bars are called One Bars are because they all have 1 gram of sugar. Sugar alcohol will range between 4 to 6 grams, and fiber comes in around 8 to 9 grams, and that's gonna vary a little bit. Now let's talk ingredients. It's a long list, so bear with me here. I'm gonna be spitting some bars. So let's go. These are the cinnamon roll ingredients. We have a protein blend, we have isomalto-oligosaccharide, we have vegetable glycerin, maltol, a blend of vegetable oil, sunflower seed butter, natural flavors, cinnamon, maltodextrin, non-fat dry milk, cocoa powder, soy lecithin, sea salt, tapioca starch, calcium carbonate, distilled monoglycerides, colored with paprika extract and sucralose. And this contains milk and soy lecithin. If those are any of your concerns for food allergies or something, I would definitely recommend looking into that before purchasing or consuming one of these bars. But in a nutshell, that's kind of the caloric, macronutrient, and ingredient breakdown for these protein bars. All right, let's look at a price breakdown. So for one protein bar, see what I did there? You can expect to pay around $2.50 to $4. If you live in a more urban setting, you're gonna pay a little bit more. Shout out to my city people. We're on that grind, paying way more than we probably should be every day. For a box of 4, you can expect to pay around $8 to $10. And then for a box of 12, you can expect to pay $23 to $27. And those prices are gonna vary a little bit depending on the retail outlet you choose to go through. 3 pros that come along with the one protein bar. First and foremost, I'm a big fan of the taste. In my opinion, these are one of the best tasting protein bars I've tried. and they are consistent across the board at getting their actual flavor across. They're all designed for dessert flavors, so if you can make a protein bar that has high protein and also gets that flavor across, I'm always a big fan. 2, I like the texture. I love a little bit of varied texture. I like the confectioner's glaze on some of the bars. It adds a nice bite. And I also like that the texture isn't overly chewy and taffy-like some protein bars can get. It's more of like a really dense cookie dough. So if you're a fan of that, then I think you'll like the One bars. And then lastly, I'm a big fan of the macronutrient breakdown. So the calories are 210 to 230 calories. So if you're in a deficit or you're kind of trying to be mindful of how much you're consuming in a day, I'd pay attention to that. But in terms of macronutrients, these bars do pretty good. 20 grams across the board of protein, and then 22 to 24 grams of carbs, that's pretty standard. And then 5 to 7 grams of fat, not too bad. And then lastly, there are 8 to 9 grams of fiber. So that's kind of good too as well if you're trying to get an increase in fiber intake and you don't want to sacrifice 230 calories without some fiber. So in a nutshell, those are my 3 pros that come along with the One bar. 3 cons that I found with the One bar. First and foremost, they are 210 to 230 calories. These aren't the lowest caloric content I've seen in protein bars, but they're also not the highest. So I would just be mindful if you're in a deficit or if you're really trying to be mindful of how much you're consuming in a day, just pay attention to the calories. It's not really a con, it's more of a case-by-case basis, but something definitely to pay attention to. Second, it is a pretty long ingredients list. So if you're trying to keep your processed foods down to a minimum, these may not be the best bars for you. And there are sucralose in it, so it's something to kind of pay attention to. All the bars will kind of vary in the terms of actual ingredient lists, so definitely look into that before consuming. And then lastly, they are a little bit more expensive. Protein bars are kind of a designer food, so they're gonna be a little bit more on the pricier end. You can expect to pay like $2.50 to $4 for one of these protein bars. But all in all, 3 cons. They're mostly gonna come down to a case-by-case basis, but they are definitely things to keep in mind. All right, guys, that concludes my review of the One protein bars. A pretty good tasting bar. Definitely some concerns with the ingredients, but all in all, good macro profile. To read more of my thoughts, visit us at BarBend.com. Click on the link below, and don't forget to subscribe and like the channel if you want to see more protein bar related content.